Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining. This is day one of Oracle Integrations Training, and today we will learn about basics of integrations. And while learning about basics of integrations, we'll go through the components of OIC, and we'll start learning few basic integrations where you will get to know that what OIC application is and where we can utilize that OIC applications to perform operations and create applications. So during the sessions, that completions before completion of sessions, that end goal is to give you brief in a such way that you will be able to understand about the concept of OIC, and with that you will be able to build integration in a such way that can be work as an inbound and outbound both. So when we are saying that inbound and outbound both, obviously you will be able to learn that how you can create OIC applications which will extract data from somewhere else, and then it will just do the manipulations of data, transformations of data, and then send the data to third party system and all. So that all we are going to cover during the sessions, and yes, obviously you will be about to learn all this thing. So let's start with the today's sessions. And in today's sessions, I told you that we'll just go through brief of that OIC, what OIC is, and all the components of that integrations, and we'll see that how the various small integrations where we can start building Oracle integrations applications. So that's all things we are going to cover today's session. So just for brief, like if you will talk about that OIC, that's OIC is a middleware applications which we already know that this help us to help applications to interact with third-party system. And obviously, as I told you that OIC is a middleware applications. So for OIC, even Oracle Fusion applications that or Oracle Cloud applications or that Oracle EBS and all, that's all considered as a third-party applications for OIC too. So what OIC will do, so during this sessions, we'll learn that OIC will connect with any third-party system and to get the data or send the data to third-party system. That all this task is going to done by OIC itself. And as we know that OIC is a PaaS applications, so we don't require to install any software to work on OIC. It's cloud-based applications where that's cloud-based and obvious subscription-based. So we just have to subscribe to OIC, and then we'll get a URL for that OIC link, and we will be able to start working on OIC. So just we know that OIC middleware application is provided by Oracle. In market, we have different middleware applications available. Just like if you will talk about that in middleware applications, we have Dell Bhumi. It's also one of middleware applications, and many more applications available in the market. So, but specifically during the training and the sessions, we'll learn about OIC. That's the Oracle provided middleware applications, which obvious we are going to go start from dev into that applications. So if you will talk about that UI navigations and all, so the latest version of OIC is OIC Generation 3, and before OIC it was Gen 2, that Gen 2 or version 2, whatever you can consider. So you can see in your screen, this is the UI for Generation 2, and the current and latest generations we are using is Generation 3. So they have done lots of changes. They added lots of features in Generation 3. So all these things while working on integrations, we will get to know. And in the during the sessions, we will use OIC Generation 3 applications to build our OIC applications. And as I mentioned that why we are going to use OIC and what OIC can do. So simply OIC can interact with any system to just to extract data or just to get data from that system. And obviously that it's not only about getting data from one system and sending data to another systems. OIC have the flexibilities to add few additional things on data, add validations, add filters, manipulations of data, adding multiple things in that. So all these things can be done by OIC, and OIC having their own components. Using that components, that we'll see that how we are going to just manipulate the data, whatever we are receiving in OIC. That's why we are saying that OIC is middleware applications, and this middleware applications can interact with any system. That's all. For example, like even that's the third-party system, that EBS, you can say that Salesforce, SAP, or it can be file server, or it can be database, the third-party database, ATP database, anything it can be. And it's not about just getting data. So getting data and sending data, so with that it can have the flexibilities to send the notifications. So for example, each and every applications we are building, and we want to send the notifications to to notify the user that okay, this applications got executed, that kind of data we receive, and this is the status of data we receive, and also that all things OIC can do. And OIC, we have one of the components as connections. That connections define that which third-party system that OIC applications need to interact with. So all these things we are going to cover it during the sessions. So when we are talking about that OIC offerings, that Oracle Cloud offer three different services. That the most and the first one is that OIC, which we are going to learn. Except that OIC, we have two more services, which is PCS and VVCS. So PCS is something that when we are building applications, that VVS as applications, and where we have to add that workflow level kind of things, that approvals and all. That PCS will help at that positions, and that we know that VVCS is just for building web or mobile based applications that can work standalone or that can interact with ERP application, that Fusion ERP applications. So that we have these two services. So specifically, our main focus will be OIC, where and OIC is also known as Integrations Cloud Services. So our main focus will be on OIC to learn that building applications on that OIC application. So when we are talking about we have to work on OIC, obviously we should be aware about the components available in OIC, so that using that components, by understanding all the features of components and all, we can build our applications in efficient way. So that's why when we will talk about the components of OIC, we have listed components, that's adapters, agents, connections, and many more. So all these components will learn one by one, and we'll see that how we can utilize all these components in our integrations. So if you will talk about that, obvious the features which they added in generation 3, which was not there in generation 2, the one of the most common features they added as a project. So they added projects as one of the components which help developers to organize applications, that OIC applications or integrations we consider created. So using that project, we can that manage our integrations in such a way that we don't need to be too much care about that how many integrations are there and where we have to search and all. So specifically, you can say that the general purpose of using the project is to specify, or you can say that group make a group of that OIC applications related to different tasks. For example, we'll create a project, and under the project we'll add all the integrations which is related to supply chain modules. We'll create one of the project. In that project, we'll create all the applications which is related to any specific modules or any specific system you can consider. For example, we created one of the project. In the project, all the tables related integrations, whatever we have, we added inside that specific project, so that whenever we have to work on that project, that integrations related to finance module, we just have to directly navigate to that project related to finance, and we will be able to see all these integrations available under that project. So it's not only about that just making a group of that integrations. Project also help us to just make a secure access to that specific applications under that project, so that if we want that a specific user should have access of that specific projects only, so that that user can access all the integrations inside that specific project for which they have the grant, except that they won't be able to access or edit or that kind of privileges, whatever we can set, they can do. So that is specific things also we are going to use. And obvious, when we are talking about the projects, they having the limitations. So we can develop our integrations inside the project and outside the projects both. So when we are going to develop our integrations application outside the projects, we have few of that flexibilities. But whenever we are moving our integrations or we are creating integrations inside the project, they have their own limitations. For example, inside the projects, we can have maximum up to hundreds of projects or hundreds of integrations only. We can have that 50 deployment, and what deployment is, will learn all these things while continuing the sessions. We can have up to 20 connections and all. So all these are the limitations of projects we can consider. So we'll see one by one when we'll move to that practical side by developing that applications. So while giving through that all these components and all, so we have one of the main features of in OIC applications as a tracing. That tracing enable us to see the log message of integrations instance whatever we executed. For example, we created one of the integrations. That integration is going to get data from file server and loading the data into database table. Loading the data into database table, and that integrations got stuck, or we want to see the flow of that integrations and all. So that's why where we have the log message, that using the log we can track and we can just identify any issues inside the integrations or anything. OIC provides three level of logging capabilities. that the very first is productions, audit, and debug. All these three having different features. That in the debug, if you will say, in the debug we can see, and we can just see each and every steps, messages, whatever data is going to flow through the integrations and all. In audit they have the bit restrictions. In productions we want able to see any of the message or any of the data what going through that integration. So that's having all these differences. We'll see one by one all these things. Just to go brief that we already know that what's the look and feel for generation 2 and generation 3. Just high level overview if you will see in generation 2, that's we already see. And yeah, so you can see this is the integrations canvas. When we are building is integrations, obviously we need an environment where we can design or build our integrations. So this is the UI for design canvas for integrations which we are using earlier as generation 2. So this was the initial homepage of OIC generation 2. And when you build any integrations, this will be the design of that OIC generation to design canvas, where you have to build all your logic, you have to build all actions and that endpoints to complete your integrations. So similar way, if you will move to generation 3 having a different UI design, and that's we are saying that it's a Redwood theme. So obvious that in generation 3, OIC generation 3, and with that ERP, they make all this the themes as Redwood, so that you can see that the look and feel is completely different. Both are having that integrations canvas only, but look and feel if you will see this is generation 2 and this is a generation 3. So specific for this generation 3, we are going to cover in our session. So let's move to your OIC instance, and we'll show you that how the navigations of OIC applications and what all what we can say, what all components are there in integrations. So let me open OIC instance now. So you can see, as I told you that OIC is a PaaS applications which you can access directly using cloud, directly using URL based, no need to install any software and all. So this is the IDCS URL for that OIC instance where we have to log in. So to log in, obviously we required ID and password. So I'll share by end of that sessions, I'll share these details to you too, so that you can also have a look on that and you can go for basic practice on that. So once we given that OIC user and password, just click on sign in. So once you will sign in, and obviously if your user credentials verified, it will be able to log into to that applications. So meanwhile, let me log into that SaaS applications too. So this is that the URL for Oracle Cloud Fusion ERP, and have already that user and password. I'm just going to log in to show you that here. Now it's loading. So once we are able to log in, I'll just give you brief on that one too. So you can see as of now, this is that Oracle Fusion ERP applications which I just log in, and we will build integrations in a such way that from through OIC we will push data to Oracle ERP applications, and in our sessions also we'll learn about that how we can extract data from ERP applications. So this is that Oracle Fusion ERP applications. Let me unmute myself. Okay. Are you guys with me? Are you able to hear me?
It is
Okay.
fine. It is fine.
Yeah. So you can see once we log into that Oracle Fusion applications. So this is in the UI of Oracle Fusion applications, that Oracle Fusion ERP, which we obviously will utilize in our integrations development, where we'll see that how to push data to this ERP applications or how to extract data from this ERP applications and all. But before coming to that ERP applications, let it be here only. We'll go to OIC. So you can see when we provided ID and password, we are able to log into the OIC applications. And in this is the homepage where you will be able to see the basic dashboard. We'll see that integrations and all. Even Oracle provided few of that pre-built integrations which we can utilize for our development purposes. But as of now, we are not going to use. So I'll just show you that where you can navigate. So just once you will click on this task icon, you will be able to see lots of details there. So our main purpose is just to go for OIC applications. So that's why I'll go for design. Inside the design only, you will be able to see the components related to integrations, so which we can use our integrations applications. And outside that, if you will see, we have the project which I was talking about, that new features of in generation 3. So in project also we have flexibilities to create integrations, and that obvious in integrations we can create lookups, connections and all. So as of now, I'm just going to skip this project part. I'll go for integrations. So now you can see this is the integrations tab where all the integrations, whatever we will create, that integrations will reflect here. And to build integrations, we need different components. We need connections, we need lookups. Obviously, we need libraries, package, agent, and the adapters. So it's not required that for each and every integrations we will use agent and all. But yes, where we will use and what's the use of that, how to utilize all these things, we will learn one by one. So before just coming to see, you can see as of now in our integration instance, we don't have any of the integrations available here. We'll create our first integration. So when we'll create integrations, we'll see the difference between different integrations. What are patterns available for the integrations? Patterns you can consider as a type of integrations. All these things we are going to learn now. So so in a starting, what I'll do, I'll create one integrations from a scratch. Obvious in a starting, you won't be able to understand much that why I use this node and these components and all. But just for brief, as a day one, I will show you that how where and where we can utilize our integrations, and then that from day two, we'll pick each and every endpoint, each and every components of integrations. We'll explain and we'll go for giving complete practical on that. So as I told you that in integrations, we have different type of integrations to create. So what all different types available, we'll see all these things here. So if you will see in generation 2, when the old generation we were using, in generation 2, there was total 6 patterns available for OIC integrations where which we can create, perform operations in OIC. But in generation 3, it's completely changed and they make it more simple, and just by making that all these 6 combining, they make only 2, they available only 3 types of patterns available in OIC. So here in OIC, when
Hi
we are
Zafar,
yeah, uh,
your voice
it's
is
breaking,
breaking.
right?
Yeah,
Not able to understand. Wow. Uh, in Oracle integrations, we have different patterns to create applications. So in Generation 2, it was total 6 types of pattern available. And all the 6, you can see that basic routine, publish to OIC, subscribe to OIC, file transfers, and that the schedule and app driven. And the major one, which 90% of the applications which we are creating using these two only, schedule integrations and that app driven integrations. So what these two schedule and app driven integrations and what all these are the remaining four, we'll see just brief on that one too. So coming to generation 3, in generation 3, they offers only 3 patterns. When we are saying that pattern, it means that you can consider a type of integrations, what kind of integration it is. So in generation 3, they just have, make that 3, that application, schedule and event. So this application is same as that app driven orchestrations in generation 2, and schedule is that you can say the schedule is same as that schedule orchestrations available in generation 2. And now you can see we have that event. This event will help us to just work with these two, publish to and subscribe to both. So publish to, subscribe to, and just basic route, all this comes under that that event type integrations, the patterns they available. So in that event type, we can build integration in a such a way that integrations can consider as a publish to integrations and the subscribe to also. So specifically during our sessions, we'll cover all these integrations, which will be pattern of applications or schedule only. So what the difference between all these two, we'll see that one by one while building our integrations. So just for high level brief, what all this basic root and the other 6 patterns of that integrations were. So just by looking for that screenshot only, you can see in the basic route, there was nothing available in that. We just have to build integrations from scratch. It was just like adding the source node and the target node and providing the mapping for that. There is no complexity, though no much logic to just change the data or enhance the data and manipulate and all, nothing. It was just like creating integration in a such a way that integration will simply get the data from one system and push the data to another system. There is no logic involved in that integrations. It was that basic routine. That's where that the reason behind removing all these types of pattern from generation 3, the latest one, is just because that we have that applications type integration. That application type integrations can do all these things. Just for example, if you will just see here in the basic route, you can see the screenshot here. You can see in the diagram, it was just open noded that whatever. endpoint we have to add from a start to end. All these two you can see we have available in that app driven integration. So when we are building app driven integrations, we can add the source and we can add the target. So both we can simply add. So that's why the whatever things or whatever actions we can perform in that basic routine, that same we can do in that app driven integration. So that's why there was no any logic to just make a new type of integrations pattern available. That's why in generation 3 they remove that basic routine. Similar way, if you will see publish to OIC and subscribe to OIC, this is also the same. So whatever actions you are going to perform in publish to OIC or the subscribe to OIC, similar patterns you can do in that app driven integrations by implementing that the one. That's why they remove that one also. But not only just they remove, for in generation 3 they created new types of pattern which support these two, that publish to integrations or the subscribe to integrations. So that's why if you will see that event type integrations help us to build integration, just that the integrations can publish message to any endpoint or that subscribe message from any endpoint. So that all these things comes under that say event type integration. Even the initial release of generation 3, there were only two types of pattern available: applications and schedule. There were no event type and all. But the latest version upgrade and all, they added event types too. So similar way here you can see the last we have the file transfer. That file transfer was even quite simple. That the very first node was a file server that's extracting data from file server, and the target system can be anything. We are just pushing the data to the target system. So even the same things, whatever we can do in the file transfer, we can do the same in app driven integrations or the schedule integrations. So that's why all got removed. So now you can see that same that publish to integrations and subscribe to integrations both are correlated to one. So publish to is something that we have that message coming from somewhere and we have to push that message to the target system. That's where we are just going to build integrations in a such way where in generation 2 we were selecting that publish to OIC integrations, and similar way we have to subscribe message or subscribe event from one of the system. That's where we are building our integrations as a subscribe to integration. So in generation 3 we know that that's all got removed and we have that event type patterns available in integrations. And the file server, file transfer type integrations, I told you that it was just like that. From one server, we are just extracting data file, and that same file we are just moving to that another file server. So that was quite straightforward. That the file server, file transfer integrations, and that's we'll see that all these things how we can build all this whatever logic we have using that app driven and schedule integration itself. So now the major things that which we will focus on, that schedule integrations and app-driven integrations. So obviously we have the differences between these two integrations. For example, you have to build one integrations. That integrations will pick a file, data file from file server and load the data file data into any target system. Let's say that target system is our database table. So now same things we want to repeat multiple times a day. So obvious we need some automation. We need some automation in a such way that we try to build integrations. That integration will automatically every 1 hour pick the file from file server, get the file data, do some changes in the file data and push the file data into database table. We need these applications to execute on every 1 hour of interval. So that's where our schedule integrations will comes in the picture. So whenever we will have such kind of requirement to run that integration automatically on a specific time, a specific duration or interval, we will build integrations. That integrations will be selected pattern as a schedule orchestration, or that schedule types patterns we will select for that specific integrations. And similar way, sometimes we require integrations applications which we want to be triggered from somewhere else. For example, if we build an integrations, that integration is getting a data as a request payload, some data as a request payload. For example, getting an invoice number as a request payload, and that integration is extracting invoice data based on the invoice number which we given as a request payload from ERP system. And whatever invoice data we are getting, they are creating a file, and that file they are going to push to that file server. But these integrations, we want that to be executed on a specific event. For example, we build integration, we given the integrations URL to somewhere, and that whenever they want, they just execute our integrations using just running that URL or API, whatever we given. In this case, we'll build integrations as an app-driven integration, so that event-based our integrations can be invoked. Another way, another example we can say by building app-driven integration is OIC integration is not just like creating applications which will transform data, which will work on that getting data from here and there. Building OIC app-driven integrations is also you can consider as a building a REST API or SOAP web services. It means that we can create our integrations and we'll expose our integration as a REST API and share that API to any system. So that whenever they want, they will run our API, and whenever the API will be executed, our integration will automatically execute through that API. So such kind of things, if we want to build, always will go for that app-driven integrations. Also, there is a differences between app-driven and schedule integrations is that we know that schedule integration is going to run on a specific time. That's why they having the flexibility. They added the limitation that schedule integrations will not return you anything. It means that when we run schedule integration, in response, we won't get anything. But whatever actions we will add in the integration, that action will be executed. For example, I mentioned that we'll get file from file server and load the file data into table. That will be done by schedule integrations. But if you will expect that whenever integration will run, it will return as data as a response, just like in REST API, also web services, we having that request and response payload. That flexibility is not there in schedule integrations. And obvious, sometimes you want that integrations in a such way that will have some parameters, some request payload, and you need some data in response immediately once that integrations got executed. Obvious, in this case, we are going to build our integrations by selecting the pattern as app-driven. So app-driven integrations will have the flexibilities to take a request payload, the JSON payload, XML payload, whatever you can give, and it will return you the data a similar way. It will return you the data in the payload format. That payload can be JSON payload or XML payload, whatever you are going to define. So such kind of requirement if we have, we are going to build our integrations with app-driven pattern. There is one more limitations in that. That said, app-driven integrations having the major limitations that whenever you will build
Zafar,
app-driven integrations, that integration should be completed within 5 minutes. It means that you having the
Zafar, your
limitations.
voice got broke.
So the major differences between app-driven and schedule integration is the time limitations. So whenever we are building our integrations by selecting the patterns as app-driven, it means that we have to build integration logic in a such a way that integration should be completed within 5 minutes of time. That's the 300 second. That integration should not go beyond that 5 minutes of time. If we build integrations that taking time more than 5 minutes, that integrations will terminate it, and it won't be able to perform remaining operations whatever is there after that 5 minutes of time. So that's why while choosing the integrations pattern, we have to be clear about, we have to understand the requirement, what kind of things, and we have to build integration in a such way that can just justify the time limitations. So in app driven, its time limit is 5 minutes. In that schedule integrations, obvious, it's having lots of time. That's the maximum up to 6 hours. It means that on also while selecting that integrations pattern, we have to take care of the things. We want building an integration in a such way that we know that it can take longer time, more than 5 minutes, even 6 minutes. If you know that your integrations can take 6 to 10 minutes, you have to go for schedule integration only. There is no other way. It means that whenever we are building integrations by selecting the pattern as schedule integrations, that integrations will by default consider as asynchronous integrations. And when we are saying that asynchronous integration, it means that that integration is not going to respond anything. And here in the app-driven integrations, when we are selecting, we know that app-driven integration is going to return as something. That's why app-driven integrations will consider as a synchronous, that it will get some data and it will return some data in response. But there is one more catch here. App-driven integration having that flexibility is that it won't return any data. You have to build integration in a such a way that app-driven integrations will get data, but it won't return. So in this case, your integrations, your app-driven integrations will also consider as a asynchronous integrations. It means that your app-driven integration is not going to return any data. And when you are building app-driven integration in a such way that app-driven is not going to return any data, again it's asynchronous, and we know that asynchronous integrations having time limitations of 6 hours. So similar way as a scheduled integrations can run up to 6 hours. Similar way, if you build app-driven integrations and not going to return anything, your app-driven integrations can also go up to 6 hours. It's not like that when we are saying that app driven, it means it will complete. It should be completed within five minutes only. No, if your app driven integrations having response payload, then only it should complete within 5 minutes. If your app driven integrations doesn't have any response payload, It means your app driven integration is now considered as a asynchronous. And when we are building asynchronous integrations, that can go up to 6 hours. So that's the quite basic difference between app driven and scheduled integrations. But also mean we'll learn while we'll go for practical. There are lots of things also. We'll cover all these things by one when we'll go for the practical. And that event base, I told you that whenever we have to build a logic in a such way that can publish message to any endpoint system, and that can subscribe message or that can get message from any system, that will go for event based integrations. Earlier in generation 2, it was publish to OIC and subscribe to OIC. So now we are going to create our first integrations. That integrations we can perform any of the logic. So for example, in our first integrations, we'll just try to see the log message and all using way that we'll also try to understand that how this tracing level is working that I explained in the starting. Where it is, we see the three levels of tracing available, right? This one. So when we'll build integrations, when we'll activate and run the integrations, we'll be able to consider understand these things also. So I'm just going to explain you right now only. So when we will build our very first integrations. So let's start with building first schedule integrations, and then we'll go for that creating update integrations and all. So I already explained you that the schedule integrations things. So we'll start on that. So let me have a look. Okay, so we are just going to take a break of 10 minutes, and then we'll start our sessions in next 10 minutes at 6:10. Thank you so much everyone for joining. You can be stay on the call, otherwise if you want you can just go and join in within 10 minutes.